Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Point Serve. We are so glad that you chose to come back and meet with us this month. On the third Thursday of every month, we share some things with you from Crosspoint Church in Beckley, West Virginia. And you can follow us on Instagram at Beckley Crosspoint. You can also follow us on Facebook at Beckley Crosspoint and Twitter at Beckley Crosspoint. Just basically, if you'll type in Beckley Crosspoint, you're going to find us somewhere on the web, and we want to thank you for being a part of that with us. Just want to remind you and take a quick moment to explain what the podcast is seeking to achieve. We want to give practical advice and steps for followers of Christ who are in positions of leadership in their organization. Regardless of the station, regardless of where you are, secular or sacred, inside the church world or in the marketplace, we want to help you improve your leadership abilities and influence in your environment. Point Serve right now, we are discussing 10 of the servant leadership characteristics. We get to go over the first one today. These were put forth by Robert Greenleaf way back in 1977. And before that, I believe Jesus Christ talked about these very things, and then Larry Spears added to them to give us 10 characteristics. And the 10 characteristics that we're going to be looking at are listening, empathy, healing, persuasion, awareness, conceptualization, foresight, stewardship, growth of people, and building communities. Now today, we are going to focus on listening, because without listening, one can truly not focus on the person that you are trying to assist, the one that you're trying to help. And without listening, the follower's needs many times can be subjugated to something else. And that's not what a servant leader is about. So today we're going to talk about just a few things in order to become a better listener. Thomas Schroeder shared some ways to improve our listening, because we're not the greatest at listening in our culture. We're so much better at talking than we are at listening. We're so much better at putting forth our own agendas instead of the agendas of others. Yet with servant leadership, a person that is going to be a servant leader has to have the needs of those around them front and center. Those have to be out in front of you. You lead allowing those needs to be met first, and then the needs of the organization will be met because of these. Now, think about it in your own life. Have you ever tried to tell somebody something and how annoying it is when they start talking about something else? Not even paying attention, not even listening to what you're saying, not walking through the process that you're wrestling with. And so as a leader, we want to do a much better job in this area. So how do we do that? Well, Schroeder shared some things that we're going to talk about right now. The first one is to make good eye contact. Now, you have to be careful with good eye contact, or else you can make someone really uncomfortable when you stare at them. That's really not what we're talking about. But what we are talking about is eye contact to the point that you are able to touch base with them, not become a stalker, not be someone that makes them uncomfortable, but you share enough with your eye contact that they know that you are listening, not going overboard, not staring to the point that you put them off and they're afraid of what you have to say, but to the point that they know that you're paying attention. So many times when my kids were little, anytime I had to share something with them, I would look at them and say, "You look at me." Because I wanted to look at them and they needed to look at me, and that let me know that they were paying attention at that moment. Even as adults, we have so many things on our plate. We have so many things that we're dealing with that if we're not careful, listening totally loses out on that. And so that's what we're processing right now, is eye contact, so that the person that you are listening to realizes that you are there with them. That leads us to number 2, and that's to teach your mind to focus. To teach your mind to focus, to teach your mind to be in that moment at that time. Again, So many of us are so busy with so many irons in the fire that we're thinking about what's the next thing, what's the next process, what is it that I need to do moving forward, and we miss the opportunity that our eye contact gives to respond appropriately to the person, to allow them to know that my mind is going to hear what you're saying. And a lot of times we have to get our mind wrapped around the fact that if they're sharing something that they are upset about, that maybe their tone will be a little harsher than what they mean to be, that they are wanting to be heard, yet it's in that moment that we have to teach our mind to focus on what's being said and what's being shared. And it's that listening process and the focus that comes along with that. The third thing that we discover here today is that when you're listening, try your best not to interrupt. Now that's hard. When you're trying to help someone, especially if you're a fixer, and we all know people around us who are fixers, who want to come in. If someone shares a problem with you, they want to swoop in, try to get it solved, fixed, so they can move on to the next problem, the next question, the next whatever it is that is on their agenda. But to be a listener, you can't be focused on fixing it. You have to be focused on hearing it. And it's in that hearing that we allow ourselves to get to the deeper parts and the deeper meanings. 9 times out of 10, John Maxwell shared this process. He said 9 times out of 10, the problem that a person shares with you is not their problem. It's just the one that they're comfortable enough to pass on along to you. But you see, if you're not good at listening, you won't dig deep enough to really see what the issue is. And interrupting is one of the fastest ways to derail anything that we are listening to. The second thing, teach your mind to focus, helps you know that don't interrupt. If you have to teach your mind to focus, then tell it don't interrupt. Don't interrupt. Make good eye contact. Teach your mind to focus. Don't interrupt. And then the fourth thing that we're going to look at today is to remove any of the distractions that are around you. I don't know about you, but I am a visual learner. And because I'm a visual learner, anything that is moving around me gets my attention. Anything around me that is out of place, I have to create a space to where I can focus on what's going on. Teaching my mind to focus, knowing my personality type, says get rid of the distractions. And I don't believe I'm alone with that. I believe most of us can easily get distracted. But when you are trying to focus on someone and listen to what they have to say, you may have to ditch the phone. I know for some you're going to need therapy to move your phone away from where you are. Yet if you're going to listen to someone else, you may have to ditch the phone. You may have to make sure that the email notification doesn't come on, or your next podcast notification doesn't kick up, so that you can pay attention to where they are. Eliminate as many distractions as is possible so that you will be able to pay attention to what they're saying. To teach your mind to focus. Don't interrupt. Remove the distractions. The fifth thing is especially difficult for fixers. And this one is don't manipulate the conversation. Listening is one of the most difficult tasks to learn how to do. Everyone can, but it's extremely difficult. And so with listening, especially if you're a fixer, you want to manipulate the conversation around to a solution, and then you can move on with the next thing. Yet, listening doesn't always take us to the solution. Listening doesn't always move us to the place to where we are able to fix everything. And so that's why not manipulating the way the conversation goes is so key for a leader. Because if we are going to listen and hear and be able to dig deep into what is really the issue, I have to set aside my thoughts, my concepts, my ideas of how to solve this problem. I have to put all of that aside. And if I'm going to be a servant leader, I have to put the needs of the person that I'm listening to ahead of my own, and they have to get to the place to where they control the situation. they control the conversation. I'm the listener, not the fixer. I'm not the one that necessarily has the issue. I'm the one listening to the issue and then allowing them to walk their way through it and to walk through it with me, and to where maybe together we can help them solve the issue. You see, listening is not you coming in and me giving you a grandiose solution on how to fix it. No, mine is to ask questions for clarity, to walk through that and to clarify the pieces with you so that as we walk through it, you discover the answers along with me, and we build those things together. When you're a good listener, the next thing that you need to look at is to make silence your friend. Silence is loud in our culture. Silence is something we don't typically have around us. Silence is not typical in nature either. When you walk out into the woods and everything is extremely quiet, it's unnerving because you wonder what's going on, because when you're even in nature, you hear noise. Yet in our created natures where all of us live and all of us work, there's typically a lot of noise. There's typically a lot of struggle with what's going on. And to be a listener, sometimes you just have to be quiet and let the person that you're listening to get their thoughts organized. Because if their thoughts aren't organized, they may not be comfortable in sharing that. And sometimes you just got to give people time to walk through things. You've got to give them an opportunity to clarify in their own mind actually what they're even saying. And when we do that, it's unique to our moment that we can just sit there and listen and give them time to maybe be brave enough to say what they want to say, and then be able to help them walk through that. Whoever said silence is golden really understood what they were talking about. Yet silence can also be very loud when you're used to noise around you. But don't shy away from silence. Don't shy away from those moments of just listening. This is true in so many relationships that we have, to be able just to silently, deliberately, intentionally, focused on not interrupting, to hear really what is being said. And to be a good listener. I said it a moment ago, but I want to help us to drive this point home also. What we need to understand is you don't have to forge an answer. Because there are going to be some things that people bring to you, and there are going to be some things that they talk to you that there is not an answer for. There are going to be things that you will not be able to fix. But in servant leadership, we've not been asked to fix everything, especially in the area of listening. Sometimes people just need to get it off their chest. Sometimes they just need to be able to know that there is someone focused on them. Here at Point Serve, we want to help you be a better leader, no matter where you serve, no matter what you do. And listening is key to that. Just remember today, make good eye contact. Don't be a stalker. Just make good eye contact. Teach your mind to focus. Figure out how not to interrupt. Remove as many distractions around you as is possible. Allow the conversation to flow from the one that you're there trying to help. Make silence your friend. And then know that you don't always have to have an answer. There may be times when you do, and that's okay. But you don't always have to have the answer. Thank you so much for joining us today on Point Serve. I pray that we've gotten to the point quickly. I pray that your listening skills will be better because of your time here today. And I hope that as you lead wherever you are, that you will be a better leader because of the time you spent with us here today. Don't forget to follow us now on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. We'll see you next month on Point Serve.